Hello, Jax West here. And I'm hold on. What does this say? Um, I'm live today so we can talk about Marni Yang. Because I understand that people don't know her case and that it is very difficult to find out about her case because this thing is all complicated on how to get into that CI group. So I'm going to post it in here in, what is that? That's new on there. Okay, sorry. So you go to marniyang.com and then you have to click on, so on the top of the page, it says home, then it says CI group. You're clicking on CI group. Then when you click on CI group, it says this content is for CI group members only. Log in or register. You need to click register. All right, and now I'm going to post that link on here. So you go to the register and it says membership levels. So it's CI group, it's $10 per year, and then you're going to click select, which I'm clicking to see what happens. Membership level. So create an account with your email. I'll post that link on here too. This $10 goes to pay for Marni's defense. And we've got all the evidence to prove that Marni is innocent. Chances are they're not going to just say, oh, we're going to let you out. You know, it'll have to go to another trial. Marni now needs to raise funds to pay for her lawyer for the new trial. I've posted about this on Stephen Avery Project, and now I've had to delete some comments because people are commenting saying Marni is guilty. And just like with Stephen, I'm not going to allow people to post that she's guilty. And they said things like, don't give money to Marni Yang. Her father and mother have money and they could sell their house or their apartment and pay for this. Okay. Once upon a time, her father, Larry Morar, had money. He doesn't anymore due to paying for all of her legal fees for the past decade. And then paying for the lawyer to prepare this petition, this post-conviction petition. So Marni's parents are divorced. So yes, there's a house and an apartment because they do not live together. They are not married. So the Morar family, there is a house and an apartment. That doesn't mean anything. It's two people living their separate lives. Her father was retired and he had to go back to work. He's an elderly man, had to go back to work to try and keep up with the costs. People like Stephen Avery, Brendan Dassey, Melissa Kaluzinski are having their legal fees paid for. Their family is not having to incur those costs. Marni and Ken Pellegrini don't have that. They're paying for their defense out of their pockets. And Marni's in prison. She can't make any money. She has no income. So, and like I said, her father is elderly, was retired, went back to work. So, it's in a tough spot. So we keep trying to come up with ways that we can raise money for her defense, but it's not just a, hey, give us money. So trying to give you something for that. So that's where the CI group comes. So CI stands for Citizen Investigators. And, let me go to that. You're not letting me. All right, let me go to this. Sorry, I was doing something on the prison website before this. So it's called WMP. Come on. I need a new computer, I swear. Citizen Investigators Group. So you cannot get into the CI group until your $10 has been paid. So here is the link for that. So Tammy's having a lot of people who will go to the CI group or go to the Marni Yang page, and they pay the $10, but then they don't go request to get into the CI group. So then she's got to try and email them and say, hey, you have to request to get into this group. So you have to do the things in that order by going to the marniyang.com, clicking on the CI group, then clicking on register, pay that $10, and then go to Facebook to this WMP Citizen Investigators Group and request to get in there. So somebody had posted in Gossip today. Yep, these are my new glasses, Laura, that I just picked up right before going live. So I'm trying to adjust to them right now. So somebody said they wanted to know about the Marni Yang case. And I can't put stuff in MAM Gossip like is in the CI group because, of course, we want people to pay the $10 to go see all that. So if you have paid the $10 and you go in the CI group, we've got the petition that was filed last week, but you can find that online, various news outlets, because there is a Dropbox. Hey, I can get the Dropbox and put the Dropbox link in here. Let me look at where's the Dropbox link, if my computer will work. So this is being shared other places, so I will share this with you, but hoping you can still go to marniyang.com and pay that $10, because we need like $500,000. Thank you, Laura, for the advice. Besides joining the CI group, which I plan to do, is anyone selling shirts where some proceeds go towards her cause? Thank you for asking, Jillian. Tammy and I were just discussing that because she wants to come up with something that's unique to Marni. We did talk about doing shirts. The shirts would have live doesn't let me post pictures in here, but it's the graphic that you see the picture of Marni in the middle, and then it shows a prison in the background, and then on the bottom it says marniyang.com. And now, because I told Tammy, I said you need a hashtag, so she went with free Marni Yang. So that's what we'll start using on things. So then I'll say free Marni Yang on the top. So talked about doing shirts, and I've also Tammy and I have talked about doing car stickers, because people having the sticker on their car driving around, it does bring awareness to it. Like I do have a Justice for Brendan sticker on my car and a Justice for Melissa sticker on my car. So maybe make one for Marni. So we're thinking of doing some kind of fundraising thing. And I know, let me go back to this free Marni Yang thing, that because she's got a hashtag free Marni Yang page now on here, which when you click on that, and here I'll put that link in here as well. That has the picture that I'm talking about of Marni, and you see the prison behind her, and it says marniyang.com, and then but it doesn't have the free Marni Yang on top. And this says, please click on this link to help us raise the funds to pay for Marni's upcoming trial and further investigative matters that we still need to look into. Let me click on that and see where it goes, because I haven't seen that yet. And this is new, and my computer's going slow. Yeah, no worries, Leanne, that you haven't heard of the case. I hadn't, or I had, because it is Illinois and there's a famous person involved. So on here, does Marni, no, she doesn't say anything about that. Oh my gosh, somebody just messaged Stephen Avery Project with, did you kill a cat in fire? Anyway, all right, here's where you can donate money to Marni Yang. If you're not going to pay the $10 for that, if you want to donate more, I see so far there's only been $155 raised, and she's got the goal of $750,000. Let it be known, and that's a gorgeous picture of Marni, by the way. Let it be known that any money that is raised for Marni, if it was not used in her trial, if you know, a whole lot of money came in, and there was extra money, it would go towards the next case that the Justice Review will be defending. Tammy is working on a couple other cases. So what the goal is of Justice Review is to be able to help people who have been wrongfully accused, wrongfully convicted, some kind of injustice, but they don't have the money to pay for the investigators that is on the team, the Justice Review team, you know, where there's a Secret Service agent, cop, retired cop, there's the ballistic expert, the lie detector guy. I mean, the list goes on of these brilliant minds who can tear apart the evidence. So, and that's what Marni will be doing upon release, is she will be joining Team Justice Review to then try and help other cases and free other people. So, yeah. So I know there's people, like, if I put stuff on Stephen Avery Project on looking for money for Marni, they're like, oh, you should be raising money for Stephen. Well, Stephen doesn't have to pay for his legal defense, and he's got Kathleen Zellner. So I'm all for helping Stephen, you know, if he needs money in his commissary account, and then when he's free, but also know that money's going to be coming his way. Marni, if she's able to overturn her conviction and prove that she was wrongfully accused, and then if she files against the state and was to win a big award, she would be putting money into helping other people. That is going to be her mission once she's out, because of Tammy has been working for the last 3+ years on her case. So now she feels she owes Tammy and will so jump right in and help. So let me scroll. Miley saying, please everyone join the group. Every dollar counts. It does. Laura says, has the Bears player, my mind went blank with his name, made a statement since you filed for Marni? No, his name is Sean Gale. He has not made a statement. He actually, after this case, after Marni was convicted, he fled the country. So Sean Gale lives in London now, and he works for a sports network there covering football in London, which coincidentally, the Bears just played in London last weekend. So I know people were reaching out to Sean Gale for a comment, but I have yet to see that he has responded to anything. How did I come to find about Marni to advocate for her? So I advocate for Melissa Kaluzinski. I started with Melissa Kaluzinski. This is a long process here. All right. So first I started out advocating for Brendan. Then it moved on to Stephen. Then from Stephen, somebody reached out to me to help Kent Pellegrini, who Kent Pellegrini is represented by Kathleen Zellner's firm, but she is not the lawyer that is works on his case. That is her associate, Doug. So he's paying Zellner lawyer prices, but he's got Doug. But Doug is excellent. Don't get me wrong on Doug. He's an excellent lawyer. So somebody reached out to me it's the moderators from Stephen Avery Project, because it was before I took over Stephen Avery Project. So the moderators from Stephen Avery Project said that I should help the Kent. So I was put in contact with Kent's girlfriend, was his girlfriend at the time. And so I would advocate, whatever help she needed. I would go to the court hearings with her. I would try and keep her under control because she's a little, upset about what's been done to her boyfriend. So like I would bring her a stress ball to hold while we're in court and squeeze and all that. So while I was at Kent, the first hearing I went to for Kent, that's when I met Paul Kaluzinski, who is Melissa Kaluzinski's father, who is also represented by Kathleen Zellner. And so he was attending Kent's hearings because it's a camaraderie between clients, that he's supporting Kent's case. So I met Paul there. And so then I learned about Melissa's case. And so started advocating for Melissa and going, I eventually started visiting Melissa. And then Tammy, who runs the Justice Review, well, her first thing that she started was WMP, the Words Matter Publishing. So she has a publishing house where she likes to put out books on injustices, to offer people to, have their story out there. So like even this book, My Mom Marni, is from Tammy's publishing house, the Words Matter Publishing. So Tammy was interested in doing a book on Melissa. So she organized a meeting with Paul and Cheryl, Melissa's parents, and they asked me to come along to see if this is all on the up and up and everything. So I went to that meeting and I met Tammy, and also Marni's father was there because he is part of the Justice Review Board. So, and they're both fathers of wrongful convicted daughters that are from the same county, from the same time. They were manipulated by some of the same people. So Larry and Paul met there. And then I had talked with Tammy about Stephen Avery Project. And so then we went into discussion on a book about Melissa. And then Tammy had also talked to me about me writing a book about my experience being an advocate for the wrongfully accused, which actually I have started writing, and I had sent it because I started writing it like 2 years ago. And I sent it to Tammy a few weeks ago, but she's been a little busy. So she actually finally just emailed me last night saying she just got around to reading it, because it's only a couple chapters. But I wanted to know her thoughts on it, and, should I continue? And so she says I should absolutely continue. So, but from meeting Tammy and Larry at that, they then asked me to advocate for Marni as well and come aboard the Justice Review team. So like on my drive home from that meeting, I was messaging the Stephen Avery Project moderators, because I rely on them so much. These are really good investigators that they're gonna look at both sides of something. They're not gonna just take something as fact. And I said, okay, I might be taking on this new case, get into looking on it. Her name is Marni Yang. And so they started looking it up, and they're like, she's guilty. Let me post. Here is the page of the Justice Review team, where you can see the experts on there. I think I'm all the way down at the bottom. Yep, there I am. They call me the social media director. Ugh, I take such horrible pictures. Anyway, so we started looking into Marni's case, and everything that was out there at that time is, man, the girl is guilty. And I had heard some stuff about it because I'm lifelong Illinois resident, and Sean Gale was on the 85 Chicago Bears. That was, the magical team, we are the Bears shuffling crew that did the Super Bowl shuffle video, and Jim McMahon, Refrigerator Perry, just all these characters and everything that came out of there. And they won the Super Bowl in January of '86. And so Sean Gale was part of that team. So he's a living legend here. So I remember when it was in the news, but I didn't pay any attention to it. So I don't know all the details. So me and the moderators start investigating, reading stuff, watching the stuff on YouTube, and everything shows she's guilty. I mean, everything. Tammy is somebody that I trust, and Tammy kept telling me the evidence is there. So then I sat in on a roundtable. There was a weekend where all the experts, all the people from this Justice Review team got together at the lawyer, Jed Stone's office for, so it was a Saturday and a Sunday. And all of these experts, as I'm scrolling through all of them here, were all at the table, and then they were presenting their reports on how they're able to discount or disprove the things that Marni was found guilty of. And from that, and then from my personal meetings with Marni, I know absolutely that she's innocent. I'm going to scroll into your comments first before then I start getting into what is Marni's case to inform you on her case. Jillian says, Melissa and Marni's cases both hurt my heart. I'm wondering if they know each other and have each other to lean on. They know each other, but they don't have anything to do with one another. They're like got totally different places at the prison and all of that. But they do hear about each other's cases, because when I go visit, like I am going to visit tomorrow. And so I will be talking about, so like when I visit with Melissa, I'll be telling her what's going on in Marni's case, because now since my last visit, I go every other Wednesday. I've now gone we now filed for Marni and we had the press conference. So I'll inform Melissa on how all that went, because with them being both Lake County, and this is dealing with the corruption of Lake County, Melissa should know. And then when I visit with Marni, if anything's going on in Melissa's case, I let her know. So tomorrow's plan is usually I visit Marni first and then Melissa. But now, last visit and now this visit, I have to flip it and see Melissa first and then Marni. Because last visit, Tammy wanted new photos of Marni because there are no current pictures of her. And they only do photos on visits Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from like 12 to 1:30 is all they do. And so I typically will visit one inmate till noon and then the other one till 4-ish. So I would always visit Marni first because Melissa works for the kitchen, and so she's got work to do in the morning. But last time I had to switch it because of those pictures. I needed to make sure that Marni was there when the photographer's in the visitors room. And I have to do the same thing this time because Marni is Jewish and tomorrow is Yom Kippur. Is that how you pronounce it? And so she has service tomorrow for it from 10 to noon. So I'll visit Melissa first until noon, and then I'll visit Marni. And what I told Marni too is I want her to do pictures again this week if we're able to get the timing right. And this time I want her to take a picture with me. When I did the when I was at the press conference, I had Marni's daughter, Emily. I took a picture with her. Those pictures are posted in the CI group. I won't post them anywhere, but that's an exclusive in there. And so Ronnie Ryder, the victim in this case, was 5'9". Marni is 5 feet tall. And one of the pieces of evidence that really shows to me that Marni is innocent is one of the shots goes into her chest at a downward angle and then out through her arm going downward. So somebody 5 feet tall cannot do that to somebody 5'9". So is Marni going to get on her toes and go like this and point down at her chest to do that? It's just not possible. And so I am 5'7", and I was wearing some kind of a heel. I don't know if the heel was an inch or an inch and a half. I don't wear really high heels. So say I was 5'8", and Marni's daughter, Emily, is 5'1". So I stood next to her, and also she's just like Marni, an itty bitty thing, the size of my pinky, and I'm a big old fat girl. So it does make it look like I'm even more ginormous than her because she's so skinny and I'm so thick. But so I stood next to her side by side so you can see how much taller I am than her. And then we took a picture with her holding out her hands like a gun to show that there's no way she could have done that. And so tomorrow when I go, I want to do a picture of me with Marni side by side. So people will be able to see, because I'm not kidding you, she is this teeny tiny little thing. All right, let me scroll. Lisa says, hi, puppy. That's typically Mickey that sits back there. Oh, he's not there right now. Leanne says, Jax, you really are an incredible woman. I wish there were more like you. Oh, well, that's, I'm lucky that I have the time that I can do this kind of thing. Leanne says, oh, wow, that would be brilliant. I'd love to read your book. Well, Tammy's goal is for me to get it out by like the beginning of the year. Cherry says Marni's IQ is normal. Marni is extremely smart. And I know that's something that somebody posted on Stephen Avery Project, that they were talking about how smart she was. So she absolutely planned this crime. No. But she's super, super smart. Gotta be one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. Julie says, Jax, you have a big heart. Marni and Melissa are fortunate to have you as a friend and supporter. You are a wonderful lady. Well, thank you, Julie. So now I will get into the case to inform you about this case. I don't have notes or anything in front of me, so I may forget some stuff or go back on it. So, but feel free to ask me questions, but I'm not going to look at your questions until I'm done going down this rabbit hole. All right, so Marni Yang was a single mom of 3. She had twins, Emily and Andrew, who were 16. And then there's Brandon, who was 12. Marni was divorced, and her ex-husband wanted nothing to do with his children. He just took off and has been out of the picture forever. So Marni was somebody who was busting her ass to support her 3 kids and would have as many as 3 jobs. One of the things that she would do is buy real estate and flip it. And so Sean Gale from the Chicago Bears became her real estate partner. So they would buy property in Chicago and sell it. They also would have sex. So Marni was one of many. Sean Gale, at the time of this incident, had 17 girlfriends that were known of. Sean always made it clear that he does not want to be married and he does not want children. He does not want to be tied down, and he wants to live his I'm going to have sex with whoever I want, whenever I want lifestyle. So he did not, these weren't kept women. You know, even if you look at Ronnie Ryder, the victim's apartment or condo that she lived in, the pictures from the crime scene are in the CI group. It's nothing extravagant. If Marni told me, like, if you went somewhere with him to dinner or whatever, you paid your own way. If you went on vacation with him, you paid your own way. I asked Marni, since she's so intelligent, why would she be in this kind of relationship? And she said that, you know, she had abuse in past relationships and had a low self-esteem. And she would break it off with Sean, but then they would still be real estate partners and have to work together, and he would reel her back in. So she kept trying to get out, and she just couldn't. But she knew of the other woman. She didn't know who they were, nor did she care. Sean Gale met Ronnie Ryder. The Chicago Bears have a practice facility in Wisconsin, and that's where Ronnie Ryder is from. And so Ronnie Ryder had a relationship with a different Chicago Bear. And I think there were 2 others before then she landed Sean, I guess. So she was kind of like, and I'm not trying to speak ill of the dead, but she was kind of like a Bears groupie, and she had sex with several of the different players. And so then she hooked up with Sean and seems to have become a little obsessed with him. She then left Wisconsin and moved to Chicago to try and get closer to Sean. And she got pregnant 2 different times that Sean made her abort the babies. There are medical records of that she had these abortions. because he doesn't want children. So then when she got pregnant this third time, and she was 40 years old, so and at this point she had been with Sean Gale for like 15 years. Now remember, I'm bad with numbers, so I don't remember for sure how many years, if it was 15 or 17, but it was a long time this woman was with Sean Gale. And she was working 2 jobs. Like she worked at like a makeup counter at a department store. And when she got pregnant the last time, she did not tell Sean she was pregnant until she was way far along. So there was no way to abort the baby. And when she did what all expectant mothers do, you're excited for the birth of your baby and you want to nest and you want to buy things for the baby. And she would talk to Sean about it. Sean would say, let's hold off on that. You know, we don't know if it's even going to happen, which is kind of weird to say, wouldn't you think? So like when you look at the crime scene photos where it is pictures of Ronnie Ryder's house, there's next to nothing for a baby. And she was like 7 months pregnant. You know, no crib, nothing, you know, and that's one of the fun things too. Like I said, is, oh, you want the crib and you want to buy what is the comforter and the bumper. Do they even still do bumpers now? I'm sorry. My son is literally going to be 26 on Thursday. So do they do the bumpers around the crib rail still? And the mobile, and, you know, you get excited, you nest. And she did have by a door, she had a, you know, her hospital bag that now she was 7-8 months pregnant. So, but there's like not stuff for the baby in there. You know, there was stuff for her, you know, so there's like next to nothing for this baby. But the state will focus on, you'll see a picture on Ronnie's refrigerator of the ultrasound, you know, so they'll show you that. And then there is a table in her like dining room area where there is some kind of a baby book there. But that's like it. That's all you're going to see in the entire place, baby related, when she's 7 or 8 months pregnant. So these 17 women that Sean Gale was having sex with all received a letter from who, it's never been determined for sure who it was, but it was some woman now identifying all the other women that Sean was having sex with, you know, trying to out him, you know, a spurned lover or whatever. So this crime occurred on a weekday morning, you know, like 7:30 a.m. Again, numbers, so don't hold me to that, but it's a weekday. Ronnie lived in a condo in Deerfield, near a bus stop. And so somebody went to her condo in the morning. They waited outside her door, inside the hallway. She had 2 exits, you know, so one's like her front door in her condo and one's like the back door. They're very near each other, but this person obviously knew which door that she uses, because they were waiting at that door. And so Ronnie was leaving. She was going to be going to work and she was going to the gym. So she had a backpack on that had stuff for the gym and clothes and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So she opened her door to leave and somebody shot her. They had, she was shot 5 times, I believe, again, numbers. And this gun also malfunctioned and would jam every other shot. So whoever shot her would have to fire, and now it won't do anything. So now you have to like clear it and take that thing out and then fire again. So all those bullets, or whatever you call them, were laying on the ground. so they were unfired bullets that were there. So whoever it is somebody who's proficient enough with this gun that they're able to clear this jam. So she was shot 5 times, and the crime scene photos are in the CI group, where you see Ronnie Ryder dead on the ground and how she is laying, and it's gruesome. But that's a point that I need to make to people too, is the current episode of Dateline, and then there's something else that I think was from Snapped or whatever, that are on Marni's. One of them, when they show Ronnie on the ground, they have her on her back, and that she's cradling her belly is, the one last thing. She's laying on her stomach. So that's not true on how Ronnie was found. Somebody who lives in the condo heard the noise, called the police right away. Somebody outside saw somebody leaving, and they identified them as a black male. And so the cops were there right away. Ronnie and the baby were deceased. Sean Gale is called because of all the stuff in the condo. So they call Sean Gale. Sean Gale was at a barber shop getting his hair did at 7:30 in the morning on a weekday, which is not the typical time he gets his hair done. So almost like he wanted an alibi. And when he was called, without them going into specifics, Sean Gale asks, was she in a pool of blood? Why would you ask that? That's when you don't know what happened to her. Why would you assume there'd be a whole bunch of blood? That's kind of, huh? And then Sean proceeded to have them finish his haircut before he went to the police station. And he did call the police station after that. And you can listen to that call. And it's, in my opinion, a very awful acting job on Sean Gale of crying and trying to be all upset about Ronnie's death. So the cops rule out Sean Gale almost immediately. It is not known if this is due to and now we'll get into sweaty sweat territory, the O.J. Simpson case, because here it is a famous black football player who only dates white women. Actually, there were, I think there were some Asian women too, but a black man who doesn't date black women. So, and like I said, the 85 Bears here are superstars, so much like OJ, I'm sure, was in California. So I'm sure there were cops that wanted their picture taken with Sean and his autograph and those kinds of things. So Sean was ruled out immediately. So they're investigating this case for almost 2 years, where they chose to focus on Marnie's son, Andrew. Andrew is half Asian, so he's darker complexion. I don't know, you can't really. This one is Andrew right here. If you watch the press conference, Andrew spoke at the press conference. So a darker complexion, so maybe he could have been mistaken as a black male. I don't know, but they were focusing on Andrew, and they were terrorizing that kid doing things of pulling him out of school, going in, talking to his friends. They were, back then it's when everybody was using MySpace. So they were getting into his MySpace. Andrew ended up having a nervous breakdown due to this, and was hospitalized. So then they started focusing on, what was the next thing? They questioned Marnie's friend, Christy Passion. The Lake County Criminal Task Force is extremely corrupt, and they're the ones that coerced Melissa Kalyazinski into a false confession. And they did the same. They do the same to everyone. So for Christy Passion, it was, you're going to help us and give us what we want, or we're going to say you did this. We're going to come after you for this. And so they had told Christy that they were focusing on Andrew, and that they now, hold on one second. Hello. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. Uh, oh my God. Yeah. Ooh. Wow. Mhm. Mhm. Right. Right. Mhm. Okay. Mhm. Okay. Okay. And what's the first one again? Jason. Sorry, everyone. Hold on. I don't know if Tammy just got disconnected, but we've got a development in Marnie's case. So she's calling me with information on that. So if she calls me back again, I'll have to step away and because there's stuff I have to do on the case when I'm done doing this. That's Tammy texting. Okay. Let me read your comments and then I'll go back into the Marni Yang story for you all. Shelley says, in my opinion, Gail is connected to that murder. Absolutely. I believe that he hired somebody from his barber shop to get rid of Ronnie. Julie says, this Gail guy was a user of women from the sounds of it. It sounds like he should have been a suspect. Considering she was pregnant after 2 abortions with his child. He didn't want to tie down. 3rd pregnancy, she's decided to keep the baby. 17 sex partners, good Lord, that we know of. Laura says, men like him make me so angry, thinking he is God's gift in playing with women, but not man enough to step up. Julie says, hitman? Yep. Bingo. Debbie says, didn't he also ask if she's dead? You're right. He did. My first question would have been, are they okay or how's the baby? Yep. Miley says, horrible, those poor kids. And then she said, KP was no friend to Marnie. Debbie says, talks amongst yourselves, LOL. Yep. Julie says, law enforcement is so corrupt, it's downright frightening, rather pathetic. Julie said, frozen or another important call. Yep, I was on a call. This is a tune. Julie says, while we wait, does anyone take vitamin D3 supplements, have really wacko dreams and or insomnia? Asking for a friend. So Tammy's call is because yesterday there was a hearing in Marnie's case, and apparently they have assigned some really snaky lawyers to fight this in court. So as it was put to me, it will be a formidable foe. And then the other thing that is happening is, just like now I gave you guys the link to go look at this WMP Justice Review team. Apparently they now have somebody who's investigating everybody who is on the team and trying to find our dirty laundry. So I guess for me, they should just contact Carla Chase. She can tell them all about what they accuse me of. Yeah. So she gave me a couple names of people that she wants me to look into. All right. So back to the Marnie case. So I'm really bad at remembering the order of everything here. But so it took 2 years of them tormenting, and now they have told Christy Passion, Marnie's friend, that they are going to target Andrew. And what they didn't show in court is Marnie had talked to both her mother and her father the night before, and remember I told you her parents are divorced. So they were 2 separate phone calls. They live in 2 separate places. Marnie's phone had been tapped forever. So cops were listening to her calls for the longest time. And so Marnie told both her mother and her father that she was going to, and the quote is, make shit up. Because Marnie didn't want them abusing her son, her 16-year-old son. So instead, she'll say she did it. and she believed in the judicial system and that she would have a lawyer and it would be proven that she didn't do it. So she was going to meet Christy Passion at a Denny's. Christy is wired. Her wire fell. Marni saw it. Marni knew she was wired. So Marni then proceeds to talk about how she killed Ronnie Ryder. But when you listen to that, if you can listen to that Denny's tape and her confession, if you listen to her confession and then look at the crime scene and see what the science says on how Ronnie was shot and where she's laying and everything that happened there, it doesn't match what Ronnie said she did. So, including she said that Ronnie dropped and her legs were out the door. And so Marni had to kick her legs inside the door so she could close the door when she left. Ronnie's nowhere near the door that you would just be able to kick her legs out of the way. Something else that, so before I get off the Christy Passion thing, so then Christy leaves the table at one point, goes in the bathroom, and is talking to the wire because she wants to tell the people that are listening. She says, I don't know if you can hear this, but the wire fell and I think Marni saw it. I think she knows I'm wired. That's kind of major because you have Marni the night before telling her parents she's just going to make shit up. She knows Christy has been talking to the police because Christy is the one that told her that they're focusing on Andrew and that they have now, they're now going to issue a warrant for his arrest. So then she meets with her in a Denny's. She sees she's wired, so she made shit up. And then when you compare what Marni says that she did to Ronnie with what actually happened to Ronnie, they don't match. All right. Then when you look at the evidence, one of the things that they used against Marni is she had car trouble. Her battery was dead. So she had rented a car. They claim, the state claims that there's a gas station that would be on the way, the way that Marni would drive. They say they've got a still shot of their saying, and there goes Marni's rental car. So this Justice Review team rented the same kind of vehicle, not the same exact one that Marni had rented that day. And they did the exact same thing with the camera in that same spot and all that going through. They don't match. It's not the same car. So that's not Marni's car. Another thing and then to go more on the car is you have emails that Marni had sent the night before to people at her work saying that she's not sure if she will make it in because something's wrong with her car. So she did that the day before. She had an ex-boyfriend, Sal, who was a Cook County police officer. She had contacted Sal to help her with the battery. So Sal said he would pick up a battery and bring it over and put it in, but he wanted her to pull the old battery out. So Marni's daughter, Emily, was, didn't take good care of her cell phone. So she kept losing or breaking cell phones. So Marni then got her what the state keeps referring to as a drop phone, so one of those pay-as-you-go cheapo little phone things. And Emily was being punished for something or another and didn't have the phone. And Marni did have it. And so Marni was outside trying to take out the battery. So, because Sal didn't want to spend a lot of time, he wanted to be able to just put the battery in and go. So Marni was out in the garage trying to get the old battery out. She used her daughter's cell phone to call her son, Andrew, who was in the house. He was homesick from school. And so she called him, wanting him to come out and help her. And he didn't answer it because it's, that pay-as-you-go phone. He didn't recognize the number and didn't answer it. So, but there are the cell records of that Marni made that call to Andrew. So that's also showing you that Marni was home at the time of this crime. She was home pulling out the battery of her car so Sal could put the new one in, and Andrew was home sick from school. Then another thing that they say is when they switched to now saying it was Marni after Marni made shit up, they said that she put on like black makeup and wore a wig. And where they go off of this is that Marni's daughter, Emily, for gym class at school, she was 16 years old, attending high school. Their school had a pool. And so she had to swim. And she didn't want to swim. It was first period. And a 16-year-old girl doesn't want, you spend that time getting yourself all done up and your makeup and your hair to go to school. You don't want to get in a pool now. And so that was friction between Emily and Marni because Emily's getting in trouble because she's not dressing for gym. So Marni had gone to Walgreens and bought a swim cap for Emily's gym class. And so there is the receipt of Marni had been at Walgreens and bought her a swim cap. But you can also see Emily's school schedule at that time that she had gym first period. I mean, that again just goes into that it was for Emily. When they were going after Marni, as I said, Marni and Emily, back when Emily was 16, they had a very headbutt relationship, mother and teen daughter. And Emily hadn't seen or talked to her father in 8 years. And so they told Emily if she would write a letter saying that she knows her mom wrote that letter to the 17 women, they would put her in touch with her dad. They would find her dad and put her in touch with him. And she was so excited about being able to talk to her dad. And then they had told her they found her dad. And so Emily they made up this story that Emily saw her mom writing this letter for these 17 women and signed it. And then they gave Emily her father's number. Emily called her dad, and his response to her was, "Don't ever fucking call me again," and hung up on her. So you crushed this girl. You misled her. She thought she was going to talk to her daddy, and now in order to talk to her dad, they got her to lie in a statement. And then when it came to trial time, just like Kayla Avery, when she was on the stand in Brendan's trial, she recanted. That's what Emily wanted to do, but they threatened her and she was scared. So she continued the lie on the stand, claiming that she knows that her mother wrote that letter. She now will tell you the truth on that. She was manipulated and forced to write that letter. And if you watch the press conference, I've posted the link. You can Google it. You will see she's, this really little thing. She and Andrew are 28 now, I think. again, numbers. But she's very soft spoken, so it was very hard to hear her. She's just a sweet little thing. And like Kayla, she feels horrible that she now said those things against her mother, and her mother is in prison. What other evidence is there? Oh, okay. So remember I told you that the gun misfired? There's DNA on those casings. Male, not Marni. There is no Marni fingerprints, DNA, nothing anywhere. But there's male DNA on those casings that the person, since every other one, I guess that gun holds like, is it 10 or 12 in the thing? I'm sorry, I'm not a gun expert. But, so basically every other time you fire, it jams and you got to get that out of there. There's no Marni on it. It's a man. So you have man's DNA is on those bullets, casings, whatever. Witness saw a black man leaving. We know that, their big thing on, because the biggest thing that people have the problem with is her confession. But you have to know that is a coerced confession. That tape is also edited. They don't have the whole thing out there. Marni knew Christy was wired, and she made up a lie saying she did it because they were about to arrest her son. And she thought, our system works. I'll say this. And my son, who's already had to be in a mental institution or, for a breakdown, that this can stop. They can leave him alone. You have the bullet trajectory. There is no way somebody Marni's height can fire where it's going into the chest at a downward angle and then out through your arm down here. A 5-foot woman could not do that to a 5'9" woman. It's not happening. Then you have Marni's alleged confession doesn't match the crime scene. You have Sean Gale, very suspicious on his reaction afterwards. And then after the trial, he leaves the country and lives in London now. The gun. So Marni's uncle passed away in Florida, and Marni went down there to settle his estate. And she brought home a couple of guns from the estate. And one of her house was like the hangout for all her kids' friends. Marni wanted to have a nice, safe place that kids could all hang out at. And one day, one of those kids stole a gun, a PlayStation, and an underwater camera. Marni is an avid scuba diver. So Marni was going to report it, but she found out that her homeowners would not cover the gun. So she didn't report it as stolen, because also she knows there's the chance it's one of her kids' friends, and she didn't want to hurt the kid. She wanted to try and work it out. So that gun had been stolen months prior to this crime. The kid who stole it, it is known who it is, and the police even went to question him because he's a friend of Andrew's. And so when they showed up at that kid's house, He didn't know it had anything to do with the Ronnie Ryder case, and instantly thought it was because of the stuff he stole from the Yang house. So he said, I know what you're here about. And he admitted the stuff he stole. And he sold it because he had a drug debt. And the cop said, we don't care about that. We're here to talk about this. So now the cop was told that Marni now wasn't in possession of the gun that they're then trying to fit their narrative and say that Marni did it. She didn't even have that gun. That gun is gone. The kids sold it. Don't know where it is, but Marni doesn't have it. And this happened months before. And there is evidence of calls and such that she did about that missing gun. And then you have the kid admitting it to the police when they came to question him about Andrew. But they didn't show that. They didn't go into that at all at Marni's trial. They leave that out. So, and then along with the gun, they talk about that Marni had a book on how to make a homemade silencer. All right. She bought that book for Sal, the undercover cop, as a birthday gift and as a gag gift. And so that book was thrown away. They got it because the cops were regularly going through Marni's garbage. So, talk to our gun experts on the silencer. They're saying they found a receipt in Marni's garbage that she had gone to Home Depot and she had bought PVC and clamps and this kind of stuff. So that's what they're claiming that she made a silencer out of to put on this gun. First of all, it's not possible. If you're going to put a silencer on a gun, it has to have that like threaded thing on the end, and then you screw them together. And Marni's Justice Review team has bought all those items. So the gun experts tried to use those items to make a silencer. It's not possible. Then, even if you used it some weird way, there is no evidence at the crime scene. PVC, if you fire through it, there's going to be bits of this PVC that's going to go places. None of it went anywhere. But also there is the evidence of what Marni really bought that stuff for was a plumbing repair and a bathroom sink. And so you can see the PVC and the clamps and everything in that bathroom sink. But that's what they were claiming, that she was making a silencer thing. And now remember too, she's this teeny tiny thing. How is she hiding this gun and this silencer when she's walking during a weekday in broad daylight? This itty bitty thing, where is she putting this stuff? But like I said, there's absolutely zero evidence that a silencer was used. It's just something else that they find this receipt in this, and the receipt and the book are two totally different times too. It's not like they were together or whatever. So they find a book on how to make silencers, and they find plumbing material from Home Depot, and they're like, yep, she made a silencer, but not going by the actual evidence at the crime scene that no silencer was used. There's nothing on the wounds that show you that the bullet came through some PVC pipe. It's just not going to happen. Then another thing is this really ugly bracelet. I can't remember when it is that they found this bracelet that was allegedly buried in some lot, but it wasn't even buried. It was up on the top of the ground. And this is a year or so after the crime. And so it's this tacky fake pearl band, and then has the silver "I'm pregnant," like the medic alert bracelet. They were claiming that was Ronnie's, that Marni took with her, but then threw out in a lot. But when they asked everybody in Marnie's family, including Sean Gale, they all said they've never seen that bracelet before. And somebody like Ronnie, who worked at this fancy department store, would not wear this thing. And when she's hiding her pregnancy, she's not wearing this thing. So that's just another weird thing that like makes no sense, but they're, trying to again make all these pieces fit. They say Marnie's motivation was jealousy, but Marnie, and I've talked to Marnie about this on the visits, if she wanted Sean to herself or whatever, it's Ronnie's the last person you would worry about because he hates children and doesn't want children. So by her being pregnant and having a child, that woman's going to lose Sean all on her own. So she's like, I would, why would you do anything to her? Sean's going to dump her ass. So just none of it makes any sense other than they want to solve this crime. And what's the easiest way that they can have it solved, not sitting open? And Lake County is known for wrongful convictions. You can Google Lake County, Illinois, and look at the multiple cases. There's several people who have been freed. So this isn't just people saying I'm wrongfully convicted. People have been able to get their convictions overturned, and it's all this Lake County, just like Melissa Kaluzinski. So I know that the evidence that was out there prior to the filing last week really looks like Marnie is guilty. I gotcha, because I was skeptical at the beginning of this too. And I don't care if she's guilty. It would be like, I'm not having anything to do with this. She's innocent. I've had her, where's my copy of the book? I've had her, I really need to redraw this so you can see it. But on one of our visits, I had her draw her hand. So she even dated it, June 1st. That's the size of her hand to my hand. See, so the tips of her fingers come to here on my fingers. Her hands are these little bitty things. That it's just like, no, there's no way she could have fired this gun and cleared these jams and shot at that trajectory, nor did she give a shit about Ronnie Ryder. And again, not speaking ill of her, but Marnie was not obsessed with Sean. She had been with Sean for years. She didn't want to be his one and only. She didn't care. And she confessed because they were laser focused on her son. And it had already caused a mental breakdown for her 16-year-old son. So she was going to protect her son however she could. And in that recording with her father, when she tells her father, I'm going to make shit up, he told her, do not do that. Do not. But Marnie didn't listen. And I don't blame her because she's trying to protect her son. Let me scroll through your comments. Miley, yes, call Carla and Earl, haha. Debbie says, oh my God. Miley says, are her and Christy still friends? No. So, but I don't know if now maybe Christy Passion would come forward now that all this evidence is out there, if she would feel safe to say, yes, I was manipulated. I was threatened. I was scared, and I had to do what they told me to do, which I understand. So we'll see if that happens. Laura says, sounds to me that she was just being a good mom protecting her son. What did Christy get in return for wearing the wire, etc.? They told her that they were going to try her as an accessory, that she was a part of the murder if she didn't. So that's what she got. She got to remain free. Do this or else we're going to take you in for it. Jane says, was there a reason the police chose her out of 17? They looked at several of them, and I think it's because they were focusing on her son because of the witness saying that it was a black male. And hold on, now I have to let my dog out because she's not leaving me alone. Okay. So I think that's why, Jane, is that they decided that was the best one to focus on was Andrew because he's got dark skin. But Andrew also, if you can't tell from the press conference, Andrew is as tall as his twin. So Andrew is 5'1". They are tiny, that entire family, all three, Marnie's tiny, her dad is tiny, all three of her kids are tiny. They're wee little things. Melissa says, I'm so late to this party. I'm sorry. I have to study the case. In a nutshell, why did Marnie make stuff up? Hopefully I've answered that for you already. She made it up to protect her son because they were about to file a warrant for his arrest to charge him with the crime. Carrie says, dirty pool using her dad to try to get info. People replying to each other. Leanne says, for fuck's sake, it's so frustrating how they can hold them when there is next to no evidence at all. Well, when you watch the Dateline or the Snapped, I mean, they do have this tied up in such a way that, if you just take what they say, it makes it look like Marnie is so guilty. But now when you're able to sit with these experts and get everything, just like you never got in Stephen's case, that's why I tell people, you have the people in Manitowoc who think that Stephen is guilty and they won't watch Making a Murderer and they don't want to see any of the actual stuff that's come out because they just go, we know what we know and he's guilty. So the same thing goes with when you see these Dateline and Snapped episodes. It sounds all good, but that's not the facts. And Dateline was at the press conference last week, and they are now going to start filming a special 2-hour episode. Yes. On Marnie's case. So hopefully this time now, they're going to do a fair portrayal of it and not just do the state story. So I'll be real interested when that Dateline is coming out, and I will be sure to let you guys know as soon as I know an air date. Miley says, Sean was the only one to benefit from the death of Ronnie. Marnie has nothing to gain. She knew Sean was never going to be with her in a real relationship. Right. Melissa says, I see. Thank you, Jax. Very sad situation. Leanne says, he leaves the country. Wow, because that doesn't scream guilt at all, does it? Right? Like I said, he is a god here. Why would you leave here? Where I'm sure he could go to any restaurant here and not have to pay a dime. Everybody will, oh my God, Sean Gale. Why would you leave the country? I'm sure he could say, a job. He got offered this job or whatever, but I don't know what came first, him moving to London or the job. But he could get a job being a sports commentator in the States. So again, why leave the country? Leanne says, of course they don't care about it, inconsiderate assholes. Miley said, didn't the neighbor hear the gunshots? Yes. So you can listen to the 911 call, and she says she hears a pop, pop. is the way she called it. She hears a pop, pop. Carrie says, don't they test for residue on the hands? If she shot the gun, she should have residue on them. They didn't take Marni in forever, so there would be no residue on her hands by that point. Miley says, I hope she does come forward. Yeah, but I understand being scared, and I don't know if she even lives in the state anymore. I'm not sure what happened to Christy Passion. Miley said, Marni would have had to have killed 16 more women if she wanted Sean all to herself. So stupid. Sean Gale knows exactly what happened. That's why he won't comment after the press release. Oh. Sorry. Somebody who lives down by the prison wants to borrow something from me. So it's like, so while I'm at the prison tomorrow on the visit, I'll bring the stuff for them and they can get it from me at the prison because it's a 2.5 hour drive down there. Julie says, is Christy willing to testify for the defense and spill the beans that law enforcement threatened her if she didn't wear the wire? Not that I'm aware of, Julie, but that would be awesome if she would. But I think she's going to be tight-lipped right now and scared. Heather said, so who do they think really did Sorry behind on this case? I believe Sean Gale hired somebody from his barbershop to get rid of his problem. So that's what I believe. Julie says, why were they going to arrest Marni's son? I just think because of a witness saying it was a black male, and since they're not going to focus on Sean Gale at all, they're going to focus on her dark-skinned kid. Hold on. My car unlocked, and you can grab anytime. Why did evidence or what evidence or reasons did they have? I think it's just because of a witness saying there was they saw a black guy, or was it to pressure Marni? I think it was just they want to solve this. They saw that as the easiest way. And Miley shouts, Towanda! There's a town in Illinois called Towanda, and fried green tomatoes. If you've never seen it, there's a scene in there where Kathy Bates' character is screaming Towanda. So now every time I go to the prison, or if I go down to Springfield, Illinois, which is our capital, and I pass the exit for Towanda, I have to scream Towanda. So that's what Miley is referring to. So that is Melissa's case in a nutshell. We're going to be doing stuff in the CI group where we're going to do a live at some point with Marni on the phone. So people will be able to talk to her. You won't be able to talk to her about the case, obviously, but you can, get to know her and hear her. We'll also be doing lives with the different people from the Justice Review team. We're just, like I said, trying to come up with things to put in that CI group that it makes it worth your $10, and the $10 is going to go towards paying her lawyer fees, which is going to be substantial. And now Well, let me scroll. Laura says, why do some celebrities think they're untouchable? Because they usually are. I know. Isn't it horrible? Look at OJ. OJ's guilty. Heather loves fried green tomatoes. Tawanda. Yeah. Julie says Sean Gale should be a suspect. And they cleared him almost immediately. So, Miley says lots of good info and photos in Marni's group. And the new guy that joined has been giving lots of good info. The new guy that joined, that she's referring to, his name is Paul Foreman. I am so excited that he came into Marni's group. He was actually part of Melissa Kaluzinski's case. He's a medical examiner. So he's looking at the evidence in Marni's case now, because he knows in Melissa Kaluzinski's case that stuff, and he was there when Melissa's case is happening, going. He, so like when I went to one of Melissa's hearings, Paul Foreman was there, also with Dr. Rudd, who Dr. Rudd was the coroner in Melissa's case that changed the death certificate from murder to undetermined. So these were medical professionals that upon seeing this stuff, they're like, this is wrong. This stuff wasn't done correctly. And this is the real thing. And so Paul Foreman, knowing that he used to work for Lake County, and knowing the corruption there, he's now looking into the stuff from Miley's case. So I was so excited to see that he joined the CI group, and that he's now looking at the pictures and such that are in there. And I believe Tammy is now giving him stuff that, because Tammy's not putting out there like the really nasty, bloody pictures. So she's gonna let Paul Foreman see it all, and get his opinion on this stuff. And so far what he's been posting is this couldn't have been Marni. Miley says, yes, he's so good. Carol says, just think if Marni hadn't have done what she did, her son would probably be sitting in prison right now. And Andrew knows it. And so he lives with that guilt, even though he shouldn't feel guilty. Julie says, why didn't law enforcement question the 15 other women? They did. All the other women were questioned. There was actually one woman that Sean Gale had suggested first, some like Polish woman or something like that, I can't remember, who he put got a restraining order against her at some point. And that is who he thought wrote the letter about all the 17 women and sent it out to everybody. So I don't know if all the women were questioned, Julie. That would be something, we'll have to ask Tammy, because Tammy and I are going to be doing it will be the lot to the right when you drive down the road. So I'm not sure, Julie, if they questioned every one of them. But when we do a live with Tammy in the CI group, Tammy is the one who has been working on this case for 3 years. Tammy is the one, when Jed Stone, who is Marni's lawyer, prepared the petition, it had like 6 pages when it got to Tammy. And then upon filing, it was now 600 pages. Tammy lives in Southern Illinois. She drove all the way up to Chicago and stayed in Chicago for 2 weeks. And so she worked in Jed's office. Jed gave her an empty office in there where she was the one that was preparing this petition. So nobody knows this case better than Tammy. She knows it backwards and forwards and inside out. She knows it better than Marni does. Julie says, where is Sean Gale today? Is he still in this country? No, Julie, and I see other people have answered already. He lives in England now. He lives in London. So I still have I have these books. I have 3 of them, my mom, Marni. And so there's 1, 2, 3. I had all 3 kids sign these books. I have 3 copies of them. I had them do 3. They and they wrote a message in them too. I mean, it's not a paragraph, it's just a sentence. But each one of them wrote something for the supporters with their signature. So it is Andrew, Emily, and Brandon all signed these. And so I know I have this raffle going that if you go pay the $10 for the CI group, you know, from the date that we filed, so Tuesday last week, October 1st. I haven't made an end date yet because it really, I think it's only like 4 people did it. It's not bringing in anything. But so if you pay the $10 to get in the CI group, you'll go into the random drawing, because then I will assign each name that has paid it a number at random. And then I will have Marni at random just pick a number. And that person will win this autographed book, you know. And so this book, My Mom Marni, it's a very short book. It's only 100, you know, it's a little over 100 pages, and it's got some pictures in it. This was written by the kids in their words, because I know there's been some people that have critiqued it. Tammy made sure that an editor didn't ruin it, and same thing Emily did too, because like Emily, an editor did try to like change Andrew's words, you know, because Andrew talks like a young boy, you know, and has slang and, you know, whatever. And so an editor cleaned that up, and then Emily was reading it before it published, and she says, no, my twin does not talk like that. Don't, you know, so it is written in their words, you know, so don't expect it to be, you know, the Queen's English. Debbie says, get me an address. I'm in London tomorrow. I'll go see him. Ooh, Debbie, that I'll ask the team if they know where Sean lives. I don't know. I know they know his phone number, because he's kept the same phone number all this time. I'm sure they know where he lives. Leanne says, oh, I bet it's heartbreaking reading that. It is sad reading this. And then that press conference last week when Emily and Andrew spoke and what was done to them. And the thing that both of them commented on is that Netflix documentary, When They See Us, on the Exonerated 5. You know, that's what made them fully come to realize what was done to them. And that this is done all the time. And Andrew and Emily do not have a low IQ like Brendan and Melissa do. Neither did the Exonerated 5. You know, so you just don't know when you're going to be questioned by law enforcement what you're going to do when they're trained and torture you. You know, and the torture, I'm not meaning you're strung up and all that stuff, but keeping you in someplace for hours, And you're eventually just going to say anything to get out of there. But in Marni's case, her false confession was intentional because they were after her son and were about to file a warrant for his arrest and charge him with this murder. So she wanted to protect her son and made shit up. You can actually, let me see. Hold on.
Hello. Hi. And I'm fucking dying of tired. Around and around and around and around and around all the same fucking question. And I'm going home. I'm fucking tired. I gotta get up to go to fucking work tomorrow. And I can't think. So I'm gonna talk to you later. I'm just too tired. I'm turning off the fucking phone. And I just gotta go to bed. I just can't think. Okay. I mean, I went over everything with them I could remember, but they're like, all right, let's start making shit up. All right, whatever. I'm going. Call me tomorrow.
So that was Marni and Christy Passion. And so the woman doing most of the talking is Christy Passion, bitching about being questioned by the police over and over and over and all that. That's all Christy. And then you hear near the end there where Marni says, even to Christy on a phone call, we'll start making shit up. Want to hear it again?
Hello. Hi.
Where'd it go? Why'd it stop?
And I'm going home. I'm fucking tired. I gotta get up to go to fucking work tomorrow. And I can't think. So I'm gonna talk to you later. I'm just too tired. I'm turning off the fucking phone. And I just gotta go to bed. I just can't think. Okay. I mean, I went over everything with them I could remember, but they're like, all right, let's start making shit up. All right, whatever. I'm going. Call me tomorrow.
So that's yet another time that Marni is telling somebody she's going to start making shit up. Miley says, yes, you can tell it's written by young adults. It's not Shakespeare. Leanne said, let us have the number. We can all call him and give him some nice calls. Leanne says it's mental torture. Think that's probably worse than physical. Julie says, in my opinion, her son could have probably beat the charge. He had no motive. Yeah, I don't know what they would say the motive was, but I get that, Marni's like, I'm not going to let them do this to my son anymore. He had a mental breakdown. I have to do something. And I know I didn't do this and there's no evidence I did this. And I know I was at home and, all that. So I'm just going to say I did it and they'll start looking at me. So I understand why Marni did it. Laura says she sounds like a meek person, meek in a good way. Her friend sounds rough, bully-like. Yeah, Marni is very soft-spoken, just like Emily was. She keeps to herself. Marni doesn't really care about, so like at the prison and stuff, she's not a social butterfly. She's not, she's perfectly comfortable to sit in her cell by herself and do a crossword puzzle. She's comfortable with herself and doesn't need other people around her. Yeah, they're just, like I said, they're just these little tiny people. Carol says, so did this lady who wore the wire know at the time Marni was just making it all up? Yes, she did. But she at that point, she was desperate to get the cops off of her and doing what she had to. So they stopped her. Here, I'll play you this one too.
Voice identifications, Detective Bauman of the Green Police Department. The following overthrow will be a reference to the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force case. The following conversations will be between Christy Passion and Marni Yang. For voice identification, please state your name.
Christy Passion.
You give your permission for the following conversations to be overheard and recorded.
Yes.
Okay, today's date is March 1st, 2009. I'm up.
Okay. 60, we've got this shit. Fucking lunacy. Can't fucking tell with this goofy ass weather anymore.
Why does this thing keep stopping? I need a new computer. Because what we were listening to is this is the Denny's recording that I'm trying to listen to.
We may have trouble, folks. The piece came out and was hanging down. I don't know if she saw it or not.
So, that is when Christy Passion leaves the table where her and Marni were at Denny's and goes in the bathroom and is telling her handlers that are listening to her wire that it came out and she thinks Marni saw it. That wasn't played in court. So, there's just so much to prove Marni is innocent. But she, until now, has never been able to tell her side. She was advised by her original attorneys not to. So there was nobody out there. We've learned now that, like, when you have Ken Kratz out in the public telling these awful things that he dreams up of what he'd like to do to women, but says this is what Brendan was claiming, and people just take that as truth because it's a state attorney who's saying it, so it must be true. So you really need to get out there and, you know, protect yourself by getting your story out there and not just leaving the public to hearing only one side, which Sweaty Sweat Sweat is always so big on that. Making a Murderer only showed one side, which it didn't, but didn't stop him from having a press conference and telling a bunch of lies to put his claim of what happened, and then it taints the jury pool. So Marni never got to tell her story. Marni's attorneys, definitely ineffective assistance of counsel, that all this stuff they've never looked into. Scrolling. Leanne says, friends don't do that. Julie says, can't hear you, dear, and then says, that's better. Yeah. So that's where we're at on the Marni Yang case. We will, like I said, be doing a live in that CI group. So please join the CI group, and your $10 goes to pay for Marni's lawyer, you know, because now her lawyer's been paid to file this petition, to do all that work and file the petition. This has been 3 years in the making of putting together all this evidence. And now it starts all over again. So now we have all this evidence for Marni, and we need to get it across the goal line. So we need the money to pay so she can go to court and fight for her innocence. So pay that $10. You get in the CI group. We'll be doing different lives. You'll have different stuff. Now, I just played you 2 things that we have in the CI group. Also in there are all the exhibits, the filing. There's some pictures of Marni, so various stuff. And then, yeah, the crime scene photos are in there. So, and then you'll see the Dr. Paul Foreman, who's in there talking about the evidence, which is excellent. I am visiting Melissa and Marni tomorrow. So I will be visiting then Melissa first, and then Marni to possibly get photos, because I really want people to see that Marni is teeny tiny next to me. I swear, I don't even know if she probably comes up to my boobs. I mean, she's so little. So I'll do a live, I don't know when, to tell you how my visit went. I'll be at the prison all day, and then my son's birthday is Thursday, but he's flying to go visit his girlfriend for his birthday. So I'm going out to dinner with him tomorrow night when I get back from the prison to celebrate his birthday before he leaves. And then Thursday, I have an event at night. So maybe I could do something Thursday afternoon to let you know about the visits with the girls. So, and Melissa's dad wants me to do a live with him on Melissa's page when I'm free. So that won't happen this week now because I just don't have the time. So maybe next week I'll schedule something that Paul and I will go live on the Justice for Melissa page. And that would be Paul talking about the case. And I'm just there because Paul doesn't really know how to work Facebook and such. Leanne says, I hope they are both keeping strong and are well. Send love from the UK, please, Jax. I will. I tell them about their supporters, and Marni is so excited now when I told her, if you're in the CI group or whatever, and you want me to tell Marni your thoughts on the case now that the filing's been out, because she wants to eat that up. She wants to know what your thoughts are. So, so read the filing, or after me going over evidence with you or whatever, or what questions do you have? I can, question Marni, but I'll start driving at like 6:30 tomorrow morning. And then the whole time I'm in the prison, I can't bring my phone in. So you would have to do it today, because chances are I wouldn't see it when I'm going to the prison tomorrow. Because it's a 2.5 hour drive for me, and I want to try and be there at 9 when they open for visits. And I hope I remember to call the prison first, because I do not want to do again where I drive all the way down there and find out they're putting it on lockdown because some girls got in a fight and you can't go in. So I got to try and remember call in the morning. But I'll ask her the questions, but I'll probably put answers only in that CI group, because again, trying to make things an exclusive, so people will pay the $10 and get in there, and we can, try and pay for Marni's defense. Leanne says, think I need to join Payday Friday. I'll be looking into it. Thank you very much, Leanne. Yeah, I know, lockdown. Ugh, they were on a week-long lockdown, and so Marni had an awful roommate, And so then she was locked in the room for a week with that woman. Finally, though, her lawyer put pressure on the warden, and they did pull that bad lady out. So Marni is now able to go to sleep and not worry about somebody physically harming her or sexually molesting her in her sleep. So she should look better. She looked better on my last visit, but the person, it hadn't been that long since the person had been out. So now we're going on almost a month that she's been bad roommate free. So, but she also, don't expect when you see the prisons from the pictures of Marni in prison that she's going to look like some supermodel, because even though she's gorgeous, and when you Google image her and you see, because she used to, model, so there's all these gorgeous pictures of her when she's all done up and all makeup and everything. She doesn't do that in prison, and she doesn't use any hair dye, so her hair's go, half gray now, and so she's not looking her best, let's put it that way. But this is coming from, I don't have any makeup on right now. I don't wear makeup very often because I just don't care. This is me, like me or not. I don't care. So I'm going to do what's comfortable for me. Julie says, you are a good friend to the girls. I'm sure those girls need your hope and support and encouragement. Well, that's what I hope to do, Julie, is, that's why, I just call myself an advocate, that I help the people however I can, so, I do these visits. I try to go every other Wednesday, depending on, if I have something that's going on, or if they have something going on. So that was the thing too, that Marni's like, I'm not sure. Wednesday's Yom Kippur. And they keep changing that service on her too, where she has now emailed me like 4 times with, well, now they changed it to this time. Oh, okay, never mind. They changed it back to this time. I think there's like 4 emails because they kept jockeying the time around. So who knows when I won't know until I get there, but I so need to remember to call them first if they're on lockdown. I'm a legend. Yeah, in my own mind. So, all right, then I think I'm going to go. It's almost 5:00 here. And now I have to go out to my she shed and gather some stuff up to bring with me to the prison tomorrow, since somebody I know that lives down that way needs to borrow some stuff for me. So this is the best way to give her all this stuff, because it's a lot of stuff and would have been a pain in the ass to ship down there. So I need to put that all together and would like to do that before it gets dark. Plus I have movie tickets tonight, going to see The Joker. So my son saw it. He says it sucks. But my son and I don't always agree on movies. So I'm still going to go see it for myself. So I'm going to see The Joker tonight. So going to do something fun tonight before I've got all this other stuff I have to do. Yeah, thank you for joining me. I see, yeah, there's only 15 people on. I know there's still a lot of people that don't know Marni's case and think she's guilty and don't want to hear about it. And I get it. I understand. But it's not going to stop me from advocating for Marni and Melissa and Kent, as well as Stephen. So, all right, I'm out. I will get back to you when I can and let you know how the visits went with Melissa and Marni. I do have, should I even do this? I don't even know if I should do this, because this is where people are going to rip on me. But I do have, people are going to rip on me, but they do. I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. Is it on this page? Hold on. Not this one. Mm-mm-mm. Hold on. Okay. Dun 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 dun. Hold on. Get off of there. Okay. That's it. Mm, mm. All right. So now I'll go here. I know, sorry. I have a PayPal. Now I have one for my activist group that I've posted in here before. But then I started this Justice with Jax, which will be the show I'll be doing for Tammy on her WMP TV. So if you wanted to donate, the money that comes from this, I use for either the gas and the tolls to go to and from the prison to visit them, or I put it on the card that I buy them food when I visit. Or if you want me to give them money, you can put the money in my account, especially if you have trouble, you don't know how to put it on their commissary. You can let me know that you've put it in my PayPal, that you want this to go on Melissa or Marnie's commissary, and I'll put it on. Because like Miley, last Friday was Melissa's birthday, and Melissa had talked to me in the last visit that she wanted to get some new shoes. And she had told me that shoes were $60. So Miley sent $60 into my PayPal. And then I put it in Melissa's commissary account. Oh, and I got an email from Melissa today saying she did get her iPad, but she still has to, what did she say? Let me go back to her email. Their stupid prison website though always crashes and stuff. Melissa said, and yes, I did buy my tablet, but I have to wait a couple weeks to get it. And I think I'm good on money, so thank you. Because and this is what drives me crazy with because Steven does the same thing too. Because I had said to Melissa, because they can buy the tablet, but then also they have to pay money for the services they can get on the tablet. They do not have the internet. It's not like they can browse the internet, but they can like play games and get music and that kind of stuff, and you have to pay for that. So I had said, do you have money for the tablet? And do you have money to pay for that stuff? Because I'm like, people would absolutely donate money for you for your birthday for that. So that's what she's saying. She thinks she's good on money. Steven will say that too when I would talk to him. Do you need money? And he's like, no, I'm good. You know, and it's like, so these people are not going to take advantage. And just, yeah, give me money. I want your money. So, yeah, so she bought the tablet, but she has to wait a couple weeks before she gets it. So, so there you go. All right. So, all right, now I'm going to go get the stuff out of my she shed, Cheryl, and get ready for my movie later tonight. So, like I said, join the CI group. It'll put you in to a random drawing to receive a copy of My Mom Marnie that the 3 kids that wrote the book have signed and written something in. And I've got 3 copies of those. And I'll be talking with Tammy that will come up with other stuff, you know, shirt and car sticker. And, you know, Tammy's still racking her brain that she wants something special that just says Marni. Maybe I'll talk to Marni about it on the visit tomorrow, on what she thinks would be a good thing that supporters could buy and use to bring attention to her case. And also, if you post anything about Marni, because like, go ahead and share that the CI group link, you know, on your pages for, you know, people to donate to, or the one that's just a straight up donate, and use the hashtag free Marni Yang. You know, hashtags are a big thing now. Oh, you're saying CI group link? Hold on. Well, there's a whole thing in the beginning of this. I'll make a post as soon as this is over in Gossip, again, giving the instructions on how to join the CI group, because it's complicated. And Tammy keeps saying that she's going to talk to her website person and get them to streamline it, but she's got so much going on that she doesn't get around to it. So right now it's really complicated that you have to go to the marniyang.com and click on the CI group, and you have to join there and pay $10. And then you go to the WMP Citizen Investigators group on Facebook and request to join. And when Tammy sees that you've paid the money, then she'll let you join. So, but I'll type something up in Gossip real quick before I go out to my she shed. So, all right, really going to get off here. Oh, been on for 2 hours. Oh, Lord. All right. So, thank you all for listening about Marni, and please feel free to ask me any questions on Marni's case. Talk to you soon.